Last night on MasterChef Australia,
I've got a funny feeling I'm just about to be eliminated.
Sandra became the latest chef to face the axe.
And you'll be missed.
I'm a mother, and I think my responsibilities lie with my children.
Tonight, Gary and George serve up a 4-course masterclass.
Great day of the week where no one gets eliminated.
Learn the tricks behind a tasty Bellini.
What do you think? Beautiful.
Roasted John Dory.
We're just going to try and create a picture on the plate.
Coffee eclairs and ice cream.
Desserts really do excite me.
Today's masterclass, my favourite day of the week.
The day, again, where we get to sit down and enjoy watching Gary and George teach us some techniques that hopefully we can use in future challenges. We get to sit back and just watch Gary and George do their thing, and no one gets eliminated.
Sandra. Where's Sandra? You eliminated her, I presume?
Sandra, I voted for you.
Sandra, as a friend, this is very hard to do.
Sandra, you are eliminated from this competition.
Jenny, you were good friends with her. What happened?
We analysed everything what happened, and we realised that Sandra actually is the one that made more crucial mistakes that drove us towards losing that challenge.
Are you relieved that you're still in the competition?
Oh, definitely. I feel that I want to be here, and I have a lot more to offer.
Well, we're back here in Masterclass. Good opportunity, of course, for you to sit back, pressure's off, so you guys can learn something new. New techniques, new ideas, presentation, something for you to aspire to, knowing that Julia...
9 out of 10.
And Lucas...
An 8 out of 10.
...are out there working hard and gaining their own experience, which they're going to bring back in the last week of this competition. So you need every advantage you can get to excel in here in the MasterChef kitchen. Today, we're looking at the invention test. You had 1 hour, a maximum of 20 ingredients to cook 2 courses. And of course, you're in pairs. Now, 4 of you cooked with quail, and that makes it difficult to judge, because if you're all producing quail dishes, you know, where's the variety, where's the interest, where's the invention as such?
I reckon I would have done something vegetarian, something a little bit light. Pope, do you know what a Bellini is?
Yeah, it's, isn't it a little bit like a pikelet, but it's savoury?
Yeah, it's a pancake, basically. I would have done a simple dish of a Bellini with feta with smoked beetroot. Its origins are Russian, but I'm sort of putting a little twist to it by adding feta. It's a savoury cheese for me that's really, really nice with a starter. Gary, what would have you done?
Look, I would have picked a fish. I'm a big fan of fish. And what I would do is a simple fish dish and accompanied with lots of little vegetables.
Right, guys, so let's crack on and do the first dish, which is my entree of feta Bellini with smoked beetroot. Andre, you're going to help me today. So first job that we're going to do is smoke the beetroot, okay? And to make our smoking mix, we've got some hickory chips, and you can buy them from a barbecue shop. You don't need to, you know, run out into the forest and grab some wood chips, yeah? There's about a cup worth of chips there.
And they've been soaked, haven't
They've been soaked,
yeah.
all right? They've been soaked. And the reason why is if they're not soaked, they'll catch on fire when they're in the pot. So just soak them for about half an hour and drain off any excess liquid. We've got some rice. That goes in next. The rice is there to hold the heat in between all the chips, yeah? So what we want is heat and smoke. We add a little bit of sugar and salt, rock salt, and the caramelisation of the sugar and the salt activates that sort of smokiness. Now, to add a little bit of flavour to the smoke, we've got some Earl Grey tea. And you can use any tea you like. You know, English breakfast, you know, a peppermint tea. You can even use rosemary or thyme. It's up to you. Now, give that a good mix. I've got a wok there and I've popped some alfoil in there so we don't burn the bottom of the pot. And just spread it out on the bottom. Yeah. We just pop a lid on and we get that smoking, all right? That should take, you know, a good, 15 to 20 minutes to start getting that smoke going. So that should be your first job. If you're doing it at home, you can do it outside on your barbecue because you don't really want to smoke out the house. Now, onto our batter, so to speak, our Bellini mix. 520 grams of full cream milk. Pop that into a pot. Bring that so it's lukewarm, just above blood temperature, okay? So you'll keep popping your finger in there to check. Then we're going to add 20 grams of dry yeast. You need to also get ready 2 egg yolks, and we also need 3 egg whites. The egg yolks are going to enrichen the batter, okay, and we'll fold them through after we've added our yeast to our milk. Reserve those 2 egg whites aside. Okay, so that's just at blood temperature. If it gets too hot, you're going to kill the yeast. Right, add your milk into a bowl. Now, rain the 20 grams of yeast into the milk. Just make sure that no yeast sticks to the side of the bowl. It needs to all be in the milk. Jenny, question?
Is that about a tablespoon, approximately, of yeast? Like
it's 20 grams.
You have to measure.
With stuff like that, you've got to be really accurate, okay? Use scales, measure it out, you know, do it properly.
All right.
Next step, we've got 2 egg yolks, and that will add some richness. Give that a good whisk. Now, next step is 150 grams of plain flour. No need to sift it. Then 150 grams of buckwheat flour, okay? Now, buckwheat flour, it would sort of give the Bellini pancake this really interesting beer flavour. Right, you want to pop some cling film over that, and we're just going to leave that in a nice little warm area.
How long do you leave that to rest?
Well, basically you need the mix to rise, okay? You need to allow the yeast to activate.
Yeah.
So we'll take our little baby over here for about half an hour.
After the break, George puts the finishing touches on his beetroot Bellini.
That is a beautiful dish.
And later, dessert is on the menu.
Sure you don't want another one? There you go.
Now, next step is to prepare the beetroot to go into our smoking mix. As we can see, our smoke is happening, yeah? Look at that, SOS.
George, does it matter that there's quite a few burnt pieces in
No, that flavour's not going to go into your food. Right. What you're going to get is that flavour there, that smokiness. Yep. Right, our smoking mix is ready for our beetroot. All right, just chop the stalk off, okay? Now pop that on your foil. Drizzle it with some olive oil and just a little sprinkle of sea salt and fold that up like you would a jacket potato, yeah? You don't need to take the skin off now. It's a lot easier to take it off after you've cooked it than before. Right, that's going to go into an oven at about 160 degrees for about an hour. A few little tips when using beetroot. Lay some greaseproof paper out, pop some gloves on, because the last thing you want is beetroot everywhere. So that's been in the oven for about an hour, about 160 degrees. It's nice and cooked.
Considering time constraints, could you boil it possibly to speed that up?
I wouldn't boil it, no. It's just you lose a lot of that flavour when you're boiling things. Yeah, so just cut your beetroot in half, wrap it in foil, straight in the oven. 25 minutes later, it comes out and you're done. Now, you should be able to pick that up, right, and peel the skin off gently. Don't pick at it, just rub at it. Rub at it. See how it's starting to come off?
Yeah. Okay,
Yep.
yeah.
Look, that's how easy it is to peel a beetroot. Be a little bit more liberal. Yeah, that's it. All right, the next step is we're going to make some really cool shapes out of the beetroot to go on the plate. And you want to do this all before you smoke it. So we need to get a flat bottom and a flat top.
Right.
So to achieve that, first take a slice off.
Of there.
There. Okay, now stand it up.
And then cut it there.
No, then cut it there.
Okay.
Take your time. Okay, not bad. Beautiful. And then cutter. Gently press it through, gently. Yep. Good job, man. Now that we've cut our shapes, pop them onto a rack. Pop that in, and we're just going to smoke them. Now, at this point, lid goes back on. And if you don't want to cook your vegetable anymore, just turn the gas off. And the smoke that's in there will give it enough flavour. That's what we call cold smoke, all right? Hot smoke is when we keep the heat going and we're actually cooking the product as well as incorporating the smoky flavour. So we're cold smoking this, we've turned the heat off, and we're going to leave it in there until this pot goes cold. So that's about half an hour.
The rest of that you could do with use a salad?
You could use in a salad, or you can just chop that up, pop that onto a tray, a little bit of salt, oven at 60 degrees overnight, blend that up in a little coffee grinder, and you've got beetroot powder, or into a mortar and pestle.
That smells beautiful.
When you dehydrate something, you're timesing the flavour by 5.
Would that go well in a beetroot risotto, or would it get too gluggy?
No, that'd be delicious.
Good, yeah.
Just at the last minute, pop a spoon of beetroot powder in there, stir it around, and be absolutely delicious. Salmon?
What are other vegetables you can use for smoking?
You need a vegetable that's porous, that's going to absorb flavour. All right, things like potatoes are great. They're beautiful to smoke. Smoked potatoes are delicious. Right, next step to our Bellini batter. Have a look at that. It's risen, pretty much doubled in size. All right, and that was what, 20 minutes? Now we need to incorporate our egg whites into our Bellini batter. We've got 3 egg whites in there. You want to start whisking that. A little pinch of salt, and what we want is nice stiff peaks. So the stiff egg whites will basically aerate the mix to another level as well as the yeast, so you get really nice spongy, fluffy pancakes. So pop all the egg whites in, all right, and start gently incorporating that. Yep, that's good, Andre, that's excellent. And pretty much at this point, your Bellini batter is ready to go. So we're using special pans here, they're Bellini pans, all right, very traditional. If you haven't got a Bellini pan, you can do it in a large frying pan and just pop the batter in like you would a pancake or a hot cake. Rub the insides with a bit of olive oil. Taking a ladle, right, go. We want it to sort of come to the top level of the pan, all right, because we want nice fluffy big Bellinis. Now, next stage, popping the feta throughout the Bellini mix.
Low heat?
Really low heat. About 3 minutes on one side and 3 minutes on the other. Jeannie, question?
The pan was actually cold before you put your mix in, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Because if I put the mix in while the pan's hot, it's going to colour too quickly.
Too much.
All right, without it cooking. So really important, cold pan, mix goes in, onto the stove and start the heat process.
And very low heat.
Yeah, very low heat. You've got to remember, we're not making a thin pancake where you can pop it the mix straight into a pan and flip them and they're cooked. They're thick and we need the heat to penetrate through and cook the batter. We don't want raw batter inside. What we want is a nice golden colour under there. A good little indicator is just with a little spatula, just pull the edge, the sides up a little bit and have a look. See, it's still a bit opaque.
Should the top be a little bit more... It's fine like that?
Yeah, that's fine, because if that cooks on the top, means the bottom's burnt.
Yep.
Right, while our Bellini's cooking on one side, we're going to take the beetroot out of the smoking pot, OK? And that's been in there for about 25 minutes now, so really intensifying that smoky flavour. Give them a little drizzle with olive oil just to shine them up and make them glossy. A little bit of sea salt, OK? And they're ready to be plated up. The next step is we need to flip it. Yeah! That's what I'm talking about. Well done, man.
I love the way you said it.
All right, now we'll plate it up, OK? Straight out of the pan, straight onto the plate. Nice large plate. OK, and there we have it, nice golden Bellini. Our beetroots that we've just lathered with olive oil. Traditionally, they'd serve Bellinis with sour cream. I'm serving it with creme fraiche. Now, next is our beetroot powder. You know, I think of places like Ayers Rock when I, you know, liberally just scatter this on the plate. You know, looks quite earthy. Little baby basil leaves that we just gently drop on the plate. Right, guys, 3 top tips for the feta Bellini with smoked beetroot. Make sure your wood chips have been soaked in water or else they'll catch on fire. Number 2, allow the pot to cool down totally before you pull the beetroots out so they really get that smoky flavour. Number 3, make sure your pan is cold when you put your Bellini batter into the pan and then cook it. Andre, what do you think?
That smokiness of the beetroot is so much better than just baked. I think it's dried it out also slightly. That is a beautiful dish.
When we come back...
Oysters on 9 are ready. Service, please.
Sam and Chris get to work and Gary cooks up John Dory.
The idea is to start hot, get the caramelisation, just to enhance the flavour.
Chris and I are here at the Boathouse in Glebe doing our work experience today, trying our hand in a professional environment. It's very exciting.
Oysters on 9 are ready. Service, please.
Yeah, we're in the middle of lunchtime service and it's pretty busy. We're chucking oysters like mad and we've only just learnt to do it, so the pressure's quite enormous, really.
We've got 6 clear.
It seems like a simple task, but it's easy to stab the oyster and then it's got to be thrown away, which is huge waste.
All right, have to go again here. 2 of these. They're stuffed. Money in the bin. Any oyster that goes in the bin, we're losing money on.
So we got stuck into shucking some oysters. Chef, I'm having trouble with this one, mate. There's obviously an art form to it and I haven't mastered it yet.
Well, you got expensive taste, don't you? Clear to learn.
I think I got 3 out and then about 15 in the bin.
We can't be wasting anymore.
I don't think I'm doing myself any favours at the moment with the chef.
I don't think salmon oyster shucking are a match made in heaven, unfortunately. It feels really natural for me. I'm loving it, so I feel like I've been doing this for a long time. It's great.
Beautiful.
This experience is great because you get to get an idea of the high standards that it takes to actually deliver, you know, first-class food. So, you know, throwing these oysters in the bin while it hurts, you know, it's giving you the exposure to what you need, what it takes to actually take it to the top level. I'll pay you back for those oysters, mate.
There you go, mate. I'll take it out of your hide after service.
He enjoys that.
Right, well, here we have it. That's our entree starter of feta Bellini with smoked beetroot. And now we're on to Gary's main course.
Look, I would have picked a fish, and what I would do is a simple fish dish, roasted, and then accompanied with lots of little vegetables. So we're going to do a roasted dory on the bone with baby vegetables and a vegetable nage with creme fraiche. So, Sam, you did the ocean trout for the invention test.
They're the only ones not cooking quail, so why not? Good on them. The trout is cooked beautifully. Well done, Sam.
Sam, come up here, and we're going to do a couple of things together. OK, so the first thing we're going to do is prepare the baby vegetables. A couple of these baby carrots. Basic lesson. Very light touch and peel away from you. And then, because you want to try and keep the shape, like sharpening a pencil, and then you want a couple of the turnips, and then we've got a couple of these sort of large spring onions and a couple of baby leeks. Now, why do you think we use baby vegetables?
Presentation. Okay, I can think.
Maybe. What would be another good reason that you'd use a baby vegetable?
Are they going to be sweeter, baby vegetables? They can have more flavour?
Yeah, that's the reason I would use baby vegetables, is because they're sweeter. I wouldn't use them just for presentation's sake.
Yep.
Now, I've got some vegetable stock that's been made with carrots, fennel, leek, and some aromats like bay leaves and star anise and thyme. Bit of olive oil for flavour. And I'm putting in chervil and a bit of tarragon just to enhance this vegetable stock. And I'm going to bring that to the boil, and I'm going to cook all the little baby vegetables in stages. So basically, I'm going to put the vegetables in that take the longest, carrots and the turnips, first. They'll take about They'll take about 5 minutes, I reckon, just to start to tenderise, and then we're going to put the baby onions and the fennel, and then after that, the green vegetables, which are the leeks and some baby zucchini. Look at those little ones. Aren't they beautiful? Fish next. Now, this is a John Dory, and we know that it's a John Dory because it's got like a thumbprint right behind the gill. Now, what we've got to do here is we've got to remove the head, and essentially, it's a 45-degree angle across that. So we draw a line, and then what we're going to do is, if you feel along there, there's a gap where the flesh hits bone. Now, these lines are like trace lines, so we know where we're going to go. And one goes that way, yep, and the other one starts in a point, and it comes around where bone meets flesh, there. So what I want you to do now is I just basically want you to knock through the bone here, and here. But baby onions are going in. Come on, hit it. Hit it, boy. And then I want you to trim around where your traced line is with the scissors. You see you've traced a line across there, all right, once you start. Easy, huh? But just careful that you're not cutting into the flesh around here. You want to be able to look at both sides and go, all right, trim it out the bone. Excellent. Right, next job. What you'll find is a sort of a natural separation at the top where the skin meets flesh, all right? So I just want you to tease that slightly, and you can come up underneath the skin like this, all right? But then you're going to go flat onto the flesh. Look, flat onto the flesh, look. All right, very nice, easy, I can feel what's going underneath that fish type motion. All right, so you end up with that. Andre, you have a question?
You do a flounder like that as well? Yeah.
You can actually, a flounder, you can actually pull the skin off. Jenny?
If you were using flounder, I usually leave the whole head when I do flounder, but I take the skin off. You would trim it the same way?
I'd take the head off. I think here in Australia, people have got a bit of a problem with heads and eyes and gills and fins. I know my wife does. And flounder, leaving the head on, it's a massive head. So season the fish with a little bit of salt on both sides, Sam. And we're going to cook in olive oil, and then that fish goes gently into the pan. That John Dory, now it's in the pan, that's going to take about 4 minutes either side, so total cooking time about 6 to 8 minutes. So the idea is to start hot, get the caramelisation, turn the pan down. And then at the end, we're going to finish with butter, a little bit of garlic and thyme, just to enhance the flavour.
Next, Gary plates up the perfect fish dinner.
Put this lovely sauce on, so that when you look at it, it's a really tempting dish to eat. That John Dory, now it's in the pan, that's going to take about 4 minutes either side, so total cooking time about 6 to 8 minutes. Sam, you got any questions?
What else went in with the veg? I didn't hear.
In the vegetable stock, we've got the carrots, baby turnips, baby fennel's gone in, and then the last two vegetables are the baby leeks and the baby zucchini, which we'll put in when we flip the fish over.
Okay. Are there other fish that are good to use on the bone like this?
Sole, flounder, perfect, absolutely. Also, monkfish is beautiful on the bone as well, and flathead, I think, is one of the best fish we have. Justine, you have a question?
Are you going to finish the fish with butter or just olive oil for this one?
I'll finish the fish with butter when I'm roasting it, yes. First flip, nice and golden brown.
Nice.
And it should be nearly cooked through, but not quite, because remember, I want to rest this. Just like meat, you should rest fish in exactly the same way. So we're going to put the zucchini in the vegetable broth and also the baby leeks as well. And what's happening is this stock is reducing around the vegetables as they're cooking. And then if you can cut a nice slither of butter, so that's ready to go. This fish is almost done now, so it's had an equal amount of time on either side. Let's put the knob of butter in and your garlic and your thyme. We take it off the heat and we allow the butter to melt and allow the garlic to release all of its flavour. And then we're just going to baste that fish. Right, Sam, just take that piece of fish out and let that rest nice and gently. A little bit of sea salt to finish. Right, so fish is cooked. Next thing we do is drain the vegetables from the cooking liquid, and then we're going to separate the aromatics. Remember, we put the chervil and we put the tarragon in to enhance the flavour. So we're just going to fish those out so that we've got nice clean vegetables that we can dress onto the plate and a nice piece of fish that's ready to go. So the cooking liquid from the vegetables, which you've drained out, we're going to use to make a very simple sauce. So the first thing we're going to do is just going to strain into another little pan, all right? put a sprinkle of olive oil in, and the olive oil is to add another dimension of flavour, nice, fresh, grassy earthiness to the sauce. Yep, that's perfect. Okay. And then I want a spoonful of creme fraiche into that jug. Yep. And what we're going to do is we're going to buzz that creme fraiche into the reduced stock. Yep. So we're going to put the boiling vegetable stock, or the boiling vegetable nage, as we call it, into the creme fraiche, which will lighten and whiten and smooth the flavours out, okay? And that's why the olive oil's in there and the creme fraiche, is you get this nice grassy overtones from the olive oil, these nice sort of creamy, acidic texture and taste from the creme fraiche, and then the nice sweet overtones from the nage. So time to dress now. What would you do?
I would have just put the vegetables on the bottom and put the fish on top.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm glad you said that.
That's what I would have done.
That's what I'm glad you said that, because what I'm going to do, and you would notice that George does the same, is we're just going to try and create a story. We're just going to try and create a picture on the plate. And you might think it's a bit fancy, and you might think, nah, it's a bit rubbishy. But remember, people eat with their eyes, okay? All vegetables change, right? So different shapes, different look. And, like, if I've got something long like that, I might, you know, see if I can tease it around something, just to, you know, just to add, like, a different dimension to the dish. Okay. And what I'm trying to do when I do this is I'm just trying to add some balance to the dish. Yep. All right? And I want to make it look like they've just miraculously tumbled out onto the plate, okay? Put this lovely sauce on, and then tie it together with the oil. Drizzle it around. That's it. Beautiful, beautiful. And then all I want you to do is just put a few herbs on, including the tarragon leaves, just to lighten the whole little exercise up. There we have it. The roast dory with baby vegetables and a vegetable nage with creme fraiche, or a vegetable jus with creme fraiche. The tips that I want to give you with the dish I've shown you is more about presentation. So if you wouldn't eat it yourself, if it doesn't strike you as being a gorgeous dish to eat, don't serve it. That's the first rule. The second one is you need something to tie the dish together. Yep, that's perfect. You do need a sauce, you do need a vinaigrette, you do need a cream or a yogurt or something that's going to blend the various flavours that you put on a plate, and that's really important. It's also helps you eat, it helps you digest the food. You know, the first stage of digestion sounds awful, but it's in your mouth. So when you're eating it, something that moistens your palate and helps you swallow, let's face it. And number three is the relevance of all the little elements that you put on a dish. So in this case, they're baby vegetables. They've been cooked together, you know, and the way you present them on the plate, it's something that you have to think about, you've got to play around with to perfect, so that when you look at it, it's a really appealing or tempting dish to eat. Okay, George.
Wow. Delicious. That looks beautiful, Gary. So, guys, if it was Gary and I's invention test, this is what we would have done. An entree of feta bellini with smoked beetroot and a main course of beautiful John Dory cooked on the bone with baby vegetables.
Sam, would you like to come up and taste?
Absolutely. That fish is beautiful.
Just cooked, isn't it?
It's great.
Julie, up you come. Try the beetroot, smoked beetroot entree.
I normally eat the beetroot out of the tin.
Oh, Julie.
When you were smoking it, I thought it might be too smoky, but that's just really delicate. Gee, that's nice fish, isn't it?
All right, lovely.
What's for dessert?
You'll have to wait and see.
Coming up next, coffee eclairs.
They look beautiful.
Nobody can resist.
George, don't eat those. You must remember that desserts are an essential part of your repertoire, especially now at this stage of the competition. The first thing we're going to do is recap this week's pressure test. Now, in that pressure test, you were given 2¼ hours to make a full-on, full-size croquembouche.
Jesus me, croquembouche. I couldn't believe it when it came out. Caramel, choux pastry, lots of intricate components.
So today, in Masterclass, we're going to do coffee eclairs. And to help me, I think we're going to use Chris. So the first thing we're going to do is make the choux pastry. So put 265 mils of milk, and then I want you to put 210 mils of water into that pan up to the boil with the tablespoon of sugar and the salt. And then, Chris, butter. There's about 150 grams of butter. Put that straight into the milk. And what we're going to do is we're going to melt those liquids together. OK, Chris, milk is boiling, butter's dissolved, sugar and salt's dissolved. So what you need to do is you need to put 260 grams of flour, which is sifted, straight into the boiling milk mixture and then start to stir. So this is going to take about 3 to 4 minutes to continue to cook that out. And then the whole idea is it starts to leave the sides of the pan as the flour absorbs the milk and the butter mixture. And then what's crucial here is that you've got to cook that flour out long enough to develop the gluten in it so that it can take the eggs when you add them in. If you don't do that, you get a really sloppy mixture. And what we're looking for is just so that you've got this cohesive dough that is separating from the sides of the pan, and when I fold it over, is that nice, see that nice shiny surface? That's what I'm looking for. Okay? Off, straight into that bowl, and I want you to knock out a bit of that heat. The reason we're going to knock a little bit of that heat out is because if it's too hot and we put our eggs in, it's going to scramble the eggs. So it's cooled down a wee bit, now we're going to add the eggs. Now, there's 8 eggs in this recipe. The reason there are a lot of eggs is that choux pastry with eclairs, eggs are the raising agent. So first 2 eggs are going in. You can start mixing. And while you're doing that, I'm just going to butter a tray lightly, just so we can pipe our eclairs on. Right, last 2 eggs. Piping bag, piping tube. Now, what you want to do is that this hand must be like that. And the reason it must be like that is because you want it to be nice and open. And when you put it in, you're actually using that thumb, that crook, to wipe that. You can keep that nice and clean, you see, because it goes in, and it goes in like that. And then shake it down, make sure there's no air in it. And then we'll pipe our eclairs. But basically what you want to do is you want to be able to pipe it so that it's the thickness of the tube. So gentle pressure, and then just flick it back on itself. All right? When you put it down, don't squash it. See how mine aren't squashed? The reason we've spaced them out is they're going to puff up, probably double their size as they cook. All right? So into the oven, and they get baked at 210, 220 to start with, okay, which gives it that push, that sharp puff, and they'll take about 20 minutes to cook, all right? And then you dry at 180, so then it bakes thoroughly without getting too dark. What you must not do in their puffing stage is keep opening the door, because all the heat goes out. All right? Chris, thanks very much. Hope you learned something.
I did.
While the choux pastry is baking, I'm going to do the topping for the eclair. And I'm using fondant, sugar fondant, which is this very soft, stretchy sugar. Now, the key with this stuff is that it can't really go over sort of blood temperature. And what I'm looking for here is hot, but not too hot, that I have to go, ow. Yeah, feeling again, not too hot. And what I can see is that it's starting to get sort of shiny and soft in the bottom of the pot, all right? Any questions about this fondant, Sam?
So you're actually not trying to melt that, you're actually just trying to loosen it.
I'm warming it.
Yeah.
So I am melting it.
Yeah.
It's just that at room temperature, that fondant icing is really stiff and sticky. And what I want it to be is soft, shiny and fluid. Okay? Because as it cools, it will then stiffen and set. So I'm going to dip up an eclair into it. Okay. And then as it cools, it'll set.
Okay.
All right?
If you couldn't find sugar fondant, could you substitute something else?
You can use chocolate. Like you could dip them in chocolate. That's okay. Now I'm going to flavour the fondant icing. And what I've got here is a coffee essence. It's made with coffee grounds and sugar syrup. You can use free-dried coffee, instant coffee. You just dissolve it into water, throw a heap of sugar in it, bring it to the boil until you get a lovely coffee syrup. So I'm going to put some in. See what's happening? That is our coffee fondant for the eclairs. Nice and soft, ready for our choux pastry to dip into. Beautiful. So the eclairs are cooked and cooled. Our coffee fondant is ready. And George, you're going to help me fill?
Yes. Today we're going to fill our coffee eclairs with a simple vanilla bean cream. There's a little bit of icing sugar in there for sweetness, and of course fresh vanilla bean scraped into there. First we need to make a little hole and then fill our piping bag up with our vanilla bean cream. And then, because you can't see it, you want to feel some weight in it and apply enough pressure without it exploding. So you can just feel the pressure going through the eclair.
Now the eclairs are filled with cream, we're going to now dip them into the coffee fondant. OK, you ready with that? All yours?
Right, so dip. Run your clean finger over there. Right.
They look beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So while George does that, I'm going to make some chocolate. I'm going to pipe coffee on each one. George, don't eat those.
I had to.
There was one extra, wasn't there?
One extra. I couldn't fit it on.
So I've melted some cooking chocolate over warm water. Again, don't overfill the piping bag. And what I'm looking for is just to pipe out a thread of chocolate. And I'm just going to nick the end off nice and cleanly with a sharp knife. And the whole idea with piping is that you attach the chocolate and you lift up and you let the thread dribble out naturally, and that's how you create a letter. Gee, I haven't done this for a few years. Wish me luck, huh?
Just write George on them all.
It's not a bad idea. So, there's another beautiful way to use choux pastry, and in this case, coffee eclairs. So, top tips for making choux pastry: weigh the ingredients. Second, cook the panade or the batter out until it leaves the sides of the pan. It has to cook for 3 and 4 minutes. Develop the gluten, otherwise the mixture is not going to be cohesive enough to take all the eggs. Number 3, adding the eggs. In this recipe, 2 at a time. You can feel that it's a little bit slippery, but it'll draw together. And what you're looking for by the time you've added the last egg is a nice cohesive dough. And what I do is look between the folds. It must shine between the folds. Chris, come up.
Which is the biggest one?
I don't know.
They're heavy.
Oh, yeah.
The texture's great. That light, spongy choux pastry, then you get the dense cream.
Nice. You like that?
Beautiful.
Gorgeous?
Absolutely stunning.
Beautiful.
Have another bite then.
I will.
Or I will.
Okay.
When we come back, the ultimate homemade ice cream.
There's nothing better than freshly churned ice cream.
The off-site challenge was amazing. The Observatory Hotel, cooking for 120 guests, and it had a theme, which was Casino Royale from James Bond, 007, or George Columbaris. So, George, what would you have done on the night for a little dessert?
You know, desserts really do excite me. Why not refine that and sort of take that to another level? A simple little vanilla ice cream in a little cornet, maybe with a little bit of fairy floss.
Julie, do you want to come up and make some ice cream?
Sure.
So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a vanilla bean custard for the ice cream. This is the basis of most ice creams, is a custard. So we need an ice cream machine. Right, first thing we've got to do is crack our eggs. So we need 10 egg yolks. Egg whites and yolks in there, egg whites in there. And I find recipes like this really easy to remember. So anywhere between 8 egg yolks and 12 egg yolks to a litre of milk or a litre of cream, and anywhere between 140 and, say, 185 of sugar is the right balance. Right. Milk and cream in the pot. I've got 500 ml of milk and 500 ml of cream. Reason half milk and half cream is just because of the amount of fat in there. You can do all cream, but I find that it's too much fat. And then you're going to put the vanilla bean from the vanilla pod into the milk, and you actually throw the pod in as well. And then we've just got to wait for that to come to the boil. So Julie's separated the egg yolks, and we've got 175 of sugar there. Okay. So you can pop those together. Make sure you whisk them straight away. Never sprinkle the sugar onto the egg yolks and leave it without whisking, because technically it changes the egg yolk, it burns it. Okay. Now the other important part, I want to get the anglaise, or the custard, to a certain temperature, and that has to be 74 to 78 degrees, because if you don't, it's going to curdle.
This is giving me horrible croquembouche memories.
Oh, making custard. So the milk's coming up to the boil, so we're going to put half of the boiling milk into the eggs. And that way you keep the temperature in the pot. And I want you to whisk it pretty quickly. Yep. Don't have to go crazy. all right? And then it's going to go back into the bulk of the boiling milk, and then we're going to whisk it very, very gently, all right? Right. And you're looking about long enough now. It needs to be going back in there. And just make sure that you bring all of that with you. That's it. Brilliant. Put the bowl down. Right, now don't go crazy. You have to remember that you've got to be going around and across so that you're catching all of it. Otherwise, what will happen is it will burn and catch, especially around the edges and in the corners of the pan, all right? And in the meantime, if you want to, what you can do is you can just use a wooden spoon to check the consistency so that when you draw your finger across it, it'll leave a distinct line between top and bottom, which means it's thick enough, all right? Now, the other important part, ice and a fine mesh sieve. Right, strain that whole lot through the sieve. And then an important part of the process is actually cooling it over ice, because if you don't, it's going to curdle. And it's going to curdle because the temperature in the centre of that custard is too high. See all that steam coming off? That's heat. So that basically means that all the heat you're knocking out of that custard, right? So this is almost cold now. It's been sitting on the ice, so that's cooled down in a matter of minutes. If you grab the barrel out of the freezer, and if you were making this at home, you could put that anglaise straight in the fridge now because it's cold, and then you could make the ice cream a little bit later on. So we're going to pour the custard into the machine, and it's going to take about 15 minutes to make a nice, smooth, soft ice cream. In she goes, Julie. Nice and easy, isn't it?
It is.
So turn the ice cream machine on, and in 20 minutes, we'll have some beautiful soft ice cream.
Lovely.
Now, there's nothing better than, you know, freshly churned ice cream. So, while it's still nice and soft, we pop it straight into a piping bag, and then we just fill them up. We've got some lovely little Persian fairy floss. Great product, this Persian fairy floss. So this is what we would have done the other day at the Observatory Hotel. A little sweet dessert canopy of 007 blonde girls with Persian fairy floss and vanilla ice cream.
So top tips for making ice cream at home. Keep it simple to start off with. If you've never made an ice cream before, you need to buy an ice cream machine. So be prepared to invest in one if you want really silky, smooth, creamy ice cream. Use fresh ingredients, fresh eggs, fresh cream, fresh milk. And in cooking the custard, nice and quick, into the egg yolk mixture, back into the pan, whisk up to temperature, which is about 72 to 78 degrees, or until it thickens enough so that you can draw a line on the back of the spoon, and then out and strain through a strainer and into a bowl over ice.
Julie, come up and taste an ice cream.
Very cute. Beautiful. Vanilla, sweet, it's soft, it's gorgeous.
Justine?
What are you tasting the ice cream?
Vanilla pods, custard, and it's really smooth. It's not like the commercial stuff. It's
nice, isn't it?
It's glossy. When you're putting the flavourings in it, do I put it, so when you're whisking it over the ice, I can just put purees in it?
I'd incorporate it into the milk generally.
Into the milk?
Yeah, as a rule, flavour the milk.
Okay.
Sure you don't want another one? There you go. So, top 7. 7 people left. You cannot be complacent anymore. You cannot rest on your laurels anymore. You cannot hope to fly under the radar anymore. And yes, there's 2 on the outside that are broken free, that are working hard as we speak, coming in at the last week to give the remaining contestants a serious run for their money. So these masterclasses, very, very important. You've got to pay attention, you've got to make those notes, and you've got to extract every bit of information you can out of us.
Yeah, think about that. You're only as good as the last dish you cooked. All right, so make the next one super, super, super sexy. Guys, that's it for Masterclass. Why don't you come up and taste a little ice cream? Come on, pick the whole thing up. What's wrong with you?
Next time on MasterChef Australia.
This is by far the most important challenge that you've faced so far.
The mystery box is back with yet another surprise.
Oh my God, there's no garlic or onion.
Plus, see how far our chefs have come as they invent their own two-course meal.
We expect now for you to be bringing us food every challenge that's spectacular.
So hurry, hurry, worry, worry.
Every single one of us is freaking out.
It's going to be hectic.
I'm trying to push boundaries here.
It's either going to be like a big plate of sick or it's going to look spectacular.
Oh, no.
Want to see this week's exclusive Diary Room confessions? Log on to masterchef.com.au.